All right, Shalom, Israel. I want to thank you for visiting this page. This is an introduction to my page. My Hebrew name is Nachaah Ahman. That name means led by faith. I'm an officer with True Nation. Um, the main ministry is located in Los Angeles, California. We're here on the East Coast, so if you're watching this video and you're in the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina area, please feel free to reach out to me through this YouTube account. What I want to do is just do a brief introduction of this page, its mission, and who I am. And I think it's important because a lot of times when you're first coming into the faith, you watch a lot of videos and, you really have no idea, who you're listening to and things of that sort. You know nothing about that person. So I felt like it'd be important for anyone watching any of the videos on this page to at least know a little bit about, my story, just so that way you have a little bit of an understanding of where I'm coming from and why this page even exists. So really quickly, I'll go through agenda. I'm going to give you just a brief testimony of how I came into the faith, a couple of life verses that I try to live by, the mission of this YouTube page, and then some rules and guidelines for the page. So I was raised a Baptist, pretty much in the church, my whole life since the time I was about 8 years old. My parents were into the church, my entire family, and I would have considered myself being quote unquote saved at the age of 8, saying the sinner's prayer and going up front and, going to the altar and, being baptized and joining the fellowship and things of that sort. Pretty much, my entire, child life up through my teenage years, I was like most kids, but at the same time, I still had that conscience of, I can't go but so far because, I say I'm a Christian, so therefore, I can't do the drinking and the smoking and things of that sort. Now, when it came down to other things, I dibble and dabble a little bit because, of course, in that mindset, you think, this is quote unquote a big sin and this is quote unquote a little sin, and things of that sort. But fast forward, and I was in college my freshman year, and I was with my family, and I was doing something that I've done, hundreds of times before, just visiting family. And I was, in the back seat sleeping, and I woke up to, yelling and looking up, and a car was actually T-boning us. And what happened from that day forward is, I really, understood that, there's no day that's promised. And I also understood that, I'm saying I'm a Christian and saying I believe in the Bible and things of that sort. But, I really had to, ask myself some questions and understand that, I really don't know the Bible like I say I know the Bible. And what I decided to do was to really start reading the Bible, studying the Bible, looking into things, and doing my due diligence to understand what my faith was actually all about. And from there, it wasn't actually too long that at the particular church I was going to, a ministry had started up, and one of the ministers said, I've been praying and I've seen you and seen how you act and et cetera, et cetera. I think I'd like to, have you, help me to build this particular ministry and things of that sort. So I, really started getting into it and, going out, witnessing, passing out flyers, reading the Bible, putting together lessons and teaching and things of that sort. And I felt that that is what, I was supposed to do. And then once I was actually out witnessing to folks, and I came across a Seventh-day Adventist. And that Seventh-day Adventist said, well, I pretty much believe everything that you believe, but let me ask you a question. Do you believe in keeping all of God's commandments? And I said, yeah, I believe in keeping all of God's commandments. Of course I do. And she said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you believe in keeping the Sabbath day, remembering the Sabbath day and keeping it holy? I said, yeah, I go to church every Sunday. And she said, that's where you're wrong. And that was the first time I'd actually got challenged and quote unquote stumped in what I believed. Because my whole thing was that Romans road to salvation. I can prove to you you're a sinner. I can prove to you you need to ask Jesus Christ to come into your heart and be your personal Lord and Savior. And you need to say this prayer, and all that stuff. But then after that, it was pretty shallow. But I knew enough to be able to combat someone that couldn't go there. And when that happened, that really lit a fire into me to say I need to learn biblical history. And I really had to say to myself, you know what, really, when it comes down to the Bible, anything from Matthew to the book of Revelation, I know it. But anything from Genesis to Malachi, I'm a little sketchy because, truth be told, in the Baptist church and in a lot of Christian churches, they tell you, yeah, the Old Testament is good for, stories and application, but we're not under that anymore. We only need to concentrate on the New Testament. I mean, good grief, we got a whole Bible that's out there right now that'll give you just the New Testament with the Proverbs and the Psalms. So, there's a program mechanism already in place to keep you from understanding the biblical history and things of that sort. So once that happened, that's when the Most High really started opening my eyes. And that's when I say the Most High was actually choosing and calling me then. I think everything up to that point, I was doing, off of instinct and things of that sort. But, the scriptures say that, you have not chosen me, but I've chosen you. And at that time, I think that's when the Most High started choosing me and calling me out, like the scriptures say, of quote unquote Babylon. And that is when I started getting into the biblical history. That is when, just like many of you, I came across videos of folks, breaking down Deuteronomy chapter 28, breaking down the Sabbath day, breaking down the Ten Commandments, breaking down the true death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah and things of that sort. And that is when I would say the true spirit of life entered me, and I understood, not only who I am, but what I have to do as a believer in the Messiah. So with that being said, I'd like to, go over a couple life verses that have really stuck with me and helped me in this walk. They're found in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. It says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." So at the end of the day, regardless of, what the situation is, what's happening, what you're studying, what you're reading, what you're going into, what you're delving in, at the end of the day, the conclusion is this: you have to fear the Most High and you have to obey him and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. And this is what keeps me grounded in my faith. And I hope that as you continue to look at the videos that this page will put up, that this can also become a life verse of yours. And then lastly, I love this verse in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12. It says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus," or whom we call in the Hebrew, Yahushua. All right? So right there, that tells you, to me, that sums up everything. Because you've got the commandments of the Most High and you've got the faith that you must have of Yahushua or in Yahushua. Or you could even look at it like this: what was his faith? Was it against the Most High's commandments, or was it for? Well, of course, it was for. So these two verses have really helped me out in my walk, and I pray and hope that they'll also help you as you continue your walk and look into more videos on this channel. Now, the mission why this channel is up, I have another verse that I want to read to you. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. It says, "But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ," or that is in the Messiah. The goal of this page is to reach out to those that believe in the Bible and believe in the Messiah, just like I did. All right? Because many of us have been sincere in our want and need of faith and spirituality, but we've been taught so many lies that it's hard to see the truth. So therefore, the mission of this page is to bring biblical truth in a simplistic way without all the arguing and the yelling and the back and forth. Because I know, many of you have seen videos and you've seen debates and you've seen people just yelling and screaming at each other. Now, don't get me wrong, all right? I know how to do all that, all right? And I do my fair share of it. There's a time and place for everything. So there are times where you have to go out on the street corner, you have to cry loud and spare not, and you have to tell people the absolute unadulterated truth. Remember, Yahushua said that you will be hated, not loved. So, I get, But I do understand how people can be turned off because maybe that's all you've seen. So my hope and prayer with this channel is that this gives you an opportunity to see what we're teaching, what we believe, but in a simplistic way, without all the argument and things of that sort. Just a simple teaching mechanism and trying to break things down in a simple way, so that way you get understanding on what it is that we believe as Israelites. Now, rules and guidelines for this channel. Number one, comments are accepted. I don't mind you commenting on any of the videos that we put up. And disagreements are accepted. You might not agree with everything that's being said, but here it is. Email is the preferred method of communication. For example, if you disagree with what I'm saying, instead of writing a long rebuttal on the page, just simply email me. Now, you can see that picture of Michael Jackson over there to the right, and I'm sure y'all have seen this meme plenty of times on Facebook, because this is what people get caught up in. Instead of actually researching the Bible and looking to see how you can better yourself, grow in the faith and things of that sort, all they want to do is go on people's Facebook pages and YouTube pages and read the comments and see the arguments. Now, that ain't going to get you nowhere. It's really not. All right? Now, if you have a disagreement and you want to, dialogue and talk about it, that is 100% fine. My email address is right there at the bottom. All right? Now, if you want to show me something in sincerity and say, brother, I think that, you might be wrong on this, hey, I'm not above biblical correction in no way, shape, or form. Or you might say, hey, you said something in this part, I'd like to get better understanding. Email me. All right? I will email you back. But one thing I will not entertain is somebody coming on the page and thinking you're going to become the teacher on the page. If you want a page and you want to teach, create a page and teach. All right? Fact of the matter. All right? I don't get into all that back and forth arguing and all that other kind of stuff. Some people, that's what they thrive on. That's what they like. That's what they get down with. I know the scriptures, 1 Peter 3. I know that. I got to be ready to give an answer to every man that asks me a question. But that don't mean I got to stay on YouTube and Facebook 24 hours a day, 7 days a week arguing with people. I ain't going to do it. All right? I'm going to spend time trying to wake my people up. And then I'm going to make videos such as these. And again, if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, if you want further explanation, email me. All right? This age of social media is great because we can get, a message out there quicker and faster than we ever have before. But it's also very detrimental because people forget how to actually just communicate with somebody. They become Facebook warriors and YouTube warriors and, what they call it, Twitter fingers and all that. And, I'll be honest with you, I've already confronted people. They'll say something on Facebook, and then when I see them face to face, you was all tough on Facebook, but, now we face to face, you can't talk. Because people hide behind a computer and get that liquid courage without being drunk. All right? And that's not what we're about. If you have questions or comments, you want more information, send me a direct email. Nachaah Ahman, NACHAAHAHMAN @gmail.com. I will check it. I will respond to you. And with that, I hope that this page is edifying to you. Shalom.